Welcome to the Manifested e-learning platform. Today we continue with the topic engagement and appointment of governance and compliance auditors. In today's lesson, we are going to learn how to design a proposal in response to a request for proposal. When a company is seeking the services of governance and compliance auditors, the company will release a request for proposal to various auditors. Then the auditors may be required to respond to the proposal by designing and sending a proposal in response to the request for the proposal for governance and auditing services. So responding to a request for proposal for governance and compliance audit services is a highly strategic and critical part of the engagement and appointment process of a governance and compliance auditors. And it's not just about answering questions, it's about showcasing the audit firm's unique value propositions and expertise in the specific context of the client's needs and the regulatory landscape. So in this lesson, we are going to do a detailed guide to designing a winning proposal in response to such a request for proposal. Now, just like any other proposal candidates, first of all, the proposal must have the client organization name, including the contact person or the department. It could be addressed, for example, to the audit committee or to the legal and compliance department of the client. The proposal should also indicate the name of the audit firm or the auditor as an individual. Your firm's name. I'm assuming now who is the one drawing developing the proposal is the auditor. So it has to have the auditor's firm and of course the date. All right. Then after that, there ought to be an executive summary. Executive summary. After stating or writing in the proposal the name of the client name, then the auditor should start by reiterating his or her understanding of the client's core need, which should be part of the executive summary. Within this executive summary, the auditor should demonstrate his understanding of the client's core need. For example, the auditor may state in at the beginning of the executive summary that in response to the client's request for proposal for governance and compliance audit services, we understand your imperative to strengthen your governance framework and ensure robust compliance in the face of evolving regulatory demands in Kenya. So I'm just giving an example of what could be the introductory paragraph in the executive summary. Okay, that is an example of an opening remark. So the executive summary should begin with a compelling opening remarks. Compelling opening remarks should be what the client company reads at the beginning of the executive summary. Then number 2, the auditors should document what we call value proposition. Value proposition. Briefly articulate the audit firm's unique abilities to meet the needs of the client, highlighting key differentiators like deep expertise in Kenya's corporate governance framework or codes such as the Mongozo Code. If the auditor has had experience in conducting audits based on, say, the State Corporations Code of Conduct like the Mongozo Code or the CMA Code, so the auditor should document the value proposition, like the understanding or expertise in Kenya's corporate governance codes. I've given an example of the Mongoso Code. The auditor can also state that they have proven methodology. All right, the auditors may have proven methodology which positions them to provide actionable insights that will enhance the operational integrity and stakeholder confidence. Value proposition should be part of the executive summary. Then there are also benefits. Now, don't forget, candidates, that we are discussing how to design a proposal. A proposal is written by the auditor seeking to provide services, governance and compliance services to a client who has sent out a request for proposal for governance and compliance audit services. So within the executive summary, have a compelling opening remark, number one. Number two is the value proposition. Then we have also the key benefits. The auditor should summarize the overarching benefits for the client. For instance, it could be reduced regulatory risk or improved board effectiveness. It could be enhanced reputation and more efficient operations. The auditor should document the benefits of such a governance and compliance audit as part of the executive summary. That's the first part. The second part of the designing of a proposal is understanding needs, understanding of your needs and the Kenyan context. Understanding of clients' needs. That's the second part of the executive summary. The auditor should show what we call empathy and research. Understanding of the client's needs. The auditor here should demonstrate a thorough understanding of the client's business, industry, and specific challenges that they may face regarding governance and compliance in Kenya. For instance, the auditor can state that we recognize that the company operating in the, say, finance sector industry, all right, navigates a complex regulatory environment, including adherence to company law, data protection law, applicable sector-specific regulations, and so on. So the auditor should demonstrate his understanding of the client's industry, the client's needs, the challenges that the client could be facing in governance and compliance with various regulatory laws and regulations. Okay? So understanding of the client's needs should be part of the proposal. You understand? Show empathy and research. Then, in understanding the client's business, the auditor should refer to the request for proposal. Make reference to the request for proposal, because the proposal that is being developed by the auditor is in response to the request for proposal. So in trying to understand the client's business, the auditor is required to refer to the request for proposal. Directly reference the request for proposal stated objectives and challenges to show alignment. Here you can use the request for proposals language where appropriate. Then acknowledge current state. The auditor should then acknowledge the current state. Acknowledge the current, briefly acknowledge any existence governance structures or compliance programs that the client may have. positioning your audit as an enhancement or as a validation. Acknowledge current state. Then part of the executive summary, apart from understanding the clients, is the proposed audit scope and objectives. What is the proposed audit scope? What is the proposed audit objectives? That should be part of the proposal. What is the scope? This section directly responds candidates to the request for proposal. The proposed audit scope and objectives directly references the request for proposal, because the scope has to be part of the request for proposal. You understand? And I think that's what we did in the second lesson, designing and scope of the request for proposal. The scope and objectives is part of the request for proposal, and the auditor should reference that scope and objectives that is contained in the request for proposal, which has primary objective. This request for proposal has the primary objective or objectives. Primary objective or objectives. This provides an independent and objective assessment of the effectiveness of the client's governance framework and this level of compliance with relevant laws, regulations, and internal policies. That is the primary objective, to provide an independent and objective assessment of the client's governance framework and this level of compliance to relevant laws, regulations, and internal policies. So that is the primary objective of a governance and compliance audit. To do what? To provide an independent and objective assessment of the effectiveness of the client's governance framework and its level of compliance with relevant laws, regulations, and internal policies. So the proposal has to state the primary objective of the governance and compliance audit. Then we have specific objectives. Now, these are specific objectives that are tailored to the request for proposal. This one is the general primary objective of any governance and compliance audit. Then we have the specific objectives of the audit, like evaluating the effectiveness of the board and its committees in fulfilling their oversight responsibilities in line with best practices. That can be a specific objective. Another specific objective could be assessing the adequacy, the operational efficiency of internal controls related to key compliance areas. Another objective specific one could be to identify and assess the level of adherence to specific Kenya laws and regulations pertinent to the client's business. It could also be reviewing the effectiveness of the organization's risk management framework in identifying, assessing, and mitigating governance and compliance risks. So there are many objectives which could include the assessing the tone at the top and the overall compliance culture within the organization. It could also be to provide practical, actionable recommendations to strengthen governance practices and improve compliance effectiveness. So those are just examples of specific objectives. I've given you 5 objectives, specific objectives. You understand? So we are discussing, candidates, the elements of a proposal. Elements of a proposal. So that those are specific objectives. Then we may have scope of review. Scope of review as part of the proposed audit scope and objective. So number 3, we have scope of review. The scope of review. This clearly delineates the boundaries of the audit. In drafting the proposal, the auditor should delineate the boundaries of the audit through what we call scope of review. Scope of review, which could be governance components. The scope could be governance components, governance components. What do I mean by that? Now, this could mean the board structure and composition. It could mean the board and committee charter, the performance evaluation, director induction and training. It could be ethical codes of conduct, or even conflicts of interest policies, or internal audit function oversight, or risk management frameworks, and so on. It can also be compliance areas. This is number 1 as part of scope. The scope could cover governance components, which I have mentioned. Candidates, we are discussing governance and compliance. So under scope of review, we have a point on governance components. Then we have components on compliance. Compliance areas. Number 2, compliance. Compliance areas should also be part of what defines the scope. Compliance areas would include a detailed list of specific laws, regulations, and also internal policies that will be reviewed. For example, review of adherence to financial reporting standards, to regulatory filings with the specific regulators like CBK, CMA, KRA, and so on. Then there is also the period covered. Period covered. This is number 2. Number 3, period covered. The proposal should specify the financial or operational period that the audit will focus on. Then we have exclusions. Exclusions should be part of the scope of review. Exclusions. The proposal should clearly state that state what the audit will not cover. For example, it may state that this audit will not constitute a financial statement audit. All right? Nor will it provide legal advice. It should clearly state that the role of the audit is to identify areas of non-compliance and recommend corrective actions. So it should have exclusions, what will not be covered. So that's part of the scope of review. Then the third component of a proposal is the methodology, audit methodology and approach. Audit methodology and approach. Audit methodology and approach. Is it a phased approach, or what is it? Describe the systematic process, which typically may include planning. It may include information gathering and fieldwork. It may also include analysis and reporting. It may include presentation and follow-up. So that is what we call phased approach. Audit methodology could be phased approach. The phased approach can include 1, planning. It begins with an audit plan and scoping. Planning and scoping. That means detailed understanding of the client's operations, risk profile, and the specific regulatory landscape, which involves an inception meeting to confirm scope, access requirements, and also key contracts. Number 2, we have information gathering. Information gathering should also be part of the proposal. The auditor should set how he's going to gather information. Is it document review? Will the information be gathered through interviews? Is it process walkthroughs, or is it data analysis? Is it control testing to evaluate effectiveness? So all the techniques have to be identified within the proposal. Under audit methodology, the approach should be, may have a first approach, which should include audit planning, information gathering, and fieldwork. We also have analysis and reporting. Analysis, number 3. Analysis and reporting. That means synthesizing findings, identifying governance gaps and compliance breaches. This stage may also include assessing root causes, formulating practical and also prioritize recommendations, and so on. Audit, analysis, and reporting is also part of the first approach, which is the audit methodology. Presentation and follow-up, number 4. Presentation and follow-up is also the third element under the first approach. After planning, the auditor should state the information gathering techniques, the analysis and reporting. Then we have presentation and follow-up. Presentation and follow-up. That means presenting findings to the audit committee or board and discussing action plans. Then offer optional follow-up reviews. So that is audit methodology. Then the second part of audit methodology is standards adherence. Standards adherence. Adhering to standards. The proposal should emphasize adherence to relevant auditing standards. Emphasize adherence to relevant auditing standards. For example, international standards on auditing, or international best practices for governance audits, and professional ethics. Then you have risk-based and proactive. Risk-based. Number 3, risk-based. Currently, we are discussing the audit methodology. Number 1, first approach. Number 2, standards and adherence. Number 3, we have risk-based and proactive. The auditor, through the proposal, should explain how the approach will prioritize areas of high risk exposure to the client. Then there is independence and objectivity. Independence and objectivity. Here, the auditor reiterates the firm's commitment to maintaining strict independence as per international and local ethical guidelines for auditors. All right. Then we can add technology, if applicable. Technology. The auditor should mention any what we call proprietary tools or data analytics capabilities or compliance management software that he will utilize to enhance efficiency and insights. That should be part of the audit methodology. This is audit methodology. Candidates, you are discussing audit methodology and approach. So we have first approach, number 1. Number 2, we have standards adherence. Number 3, we have risk-based and proactive. Number 4, independence and objectivity. Number 5, we have technology if applicable. Okay. So candidates, you are discussing how to develop or design a proposal in response to request for proposal for governance and compliance audit services. So this is step number 4, audit methodology and approach. Then step number 5, you have deliverables. 5 deliverables. Within the proposal, the auditor should clearly state the deliverables. It could be comprehensive audit report. One deliverable could be comprehensive audit report. Comprehensive audit report is a report that may be expected at the end of the audit. That should be part of the proposal. All right, which may have an executive summary outlining key findings and recommendations. The report should detail findings for each governance and compliance area reviewed. The report should also contain assessment of compliance levels against specific criteria. The report should also have clear, actionable, and prioritized recommendations for improvement. So that is a comprehensive audit report, which is one of the deliverables, what is expected at the end of the governance and compliance audit. You may also have management letters, management letter or letter of weaknesses. If separate from the main report, we may have a letter detailing specific internal control weaknesses or operational inefficiencies observed during the audit that could impact governance or compliance. Part of the deliverables could also be just presentation, formal presentation. Apart from the comprehensive audit report and the management letters, another deliverable is a formal representation. This is a formal representation to the board or to the audit committee or senior management, summarizing key findings and facilitating discussion on remediation plans. All right? Yes. Then we may also have action plan matrix as part of the deliverable. Action plan matrix. Action plan matrix. Action plan matrix, which is a template to help the client to track the implementation of recommendations. So this is the 5th part of a proposal in response to request for proposal. Then there is team and firm qualifications. Team and firm qualifications, number 6. Team and firm. By firm, we are referring to the audit firm. This is a proposal that is being developed by the auditor. When developing or designing this proposal, the auditor should clearly identify or mention or state the team's or firm's qualifications. So you may have a dedicated engagement team. Dedicated engagement team. The auditor here should introduce the engagement partner or key managers, highlighting their specific experience in governance, their experience in risk, and also compliance audits, particularly within the Kenyan or East African context. Apart from just identifying the team members, the proposal should include a brief CVs or resumes in an appendix, focusing on relevant projects and certifications, for example, CPAK or CS or CISA and so on. As part of the proposal, also under this section, the auditor should emphasize the team's understanding of the local regulatory and business environment. So first of all, we have dedicated engagement team. Then we have the firm's expertise and experience. Let me put it here. Firms, that is part B, and experience should be part of the proposal in request to in response to request for proposal. The audit firm's expertise and experience. Okay, audit firm's expertise and experience. That includes the track record. Track record. What is the firm's track record? The track record. The audit proposal should showcase successful governance and compliance audits performed for similar organizations or within the client's industry. It should also provide relevant client references with their permissions, of course, noting contact details which may be requested by the request for proposal. Okay, the proposal should provide, in other words, relevant client references. You understand? There is also local presence and resources. Local presence. Local presence and resources. Local presence and resources. The proposal ought to highlight the audit firm's physical presence and a deep understanding of the market and regulatory landscape. As part of the firm's expertise and experience, number 3, apart from the track record, the local presence and resources, we have what we call quality assurance. Number 3, quality assurance. Quality assurance. The proposal ought to describe the audit firm's quality control processes and any other external peer reviews or certifications relevant to the audit quality. Thought leadership. Thought leadership. What does that mean? That means that the proposal should mention any publications, webinars, or industry participation related to governance and compliance. So that's what we call firm's expertise and experience. When designing a proposal in response to request for proposal for governance and compliance audits, there ought to be a section on the firm's experience and expertise. That is point number 6. We are discussing candidates number 6, the audit teams and firm's qualifications. We first of all mentioned there ought to be a dedicated engagement team. Then there is B, the firm's expertise and experience. That is element number 6. Then there is project timeline, number 7. Timeline. Project timeline. The proposal should have a detailed schedule. A detailed schedule. Detailed schedule. The proposal ought to provide a realistic project plan with key milestones and expected completion dates for each phase. For example, you may have an inception meeting, you may have field work, the start and the end of the field work, It will also state the dates for draft report submissions. Another milestone could be final report submission and presentation. So that should be part of the proposal under project timeline. Detailed schedule, realistic project plan with key milestones and expected completion dates for each phase. There is client dependencies, number 2. Client dependencies is also part of the project timeline, where the proposal clearly states the information and access requirements from the client to ensure the timeline can be met. For this timeline to be met, the auditor develops a detailed schedule, and this detailed schedule can only be met if the client provides information on timely basis. That's why there ought to be what we call client dependencies, which states the information and access requirements from the client to ensure the timelines can be met. For example, there could be timely provision of all requested documents and availability of key personnel for interviews, which are crucial for adhering to the detailed schedule. That's number 7. Number 8, you have fees and commercial terms. Fees and commercial terms. The proposal should contain what we call transparent pricing. Pricing of the audit engagement should be transparent. The proposal should clearly state the proposed fees for the audit engagement. It should specify whether it's fixed, whether it's a fixed fee, or whether it's based on estimated hours, or if it is a retainer. There should also be breakdown costs if necessary, for example, professional fees, reimbursable expenses like travel outside the town, and also a payment schedule. As part of fees and commercial terms, there ought to be payment schedule as part of this proposal. Payment schedule. How will the auditor be paid? The proposal should outline the payment milestone. For example, it could be a certain percentage upon signing. It could be 20% upon signing the engagement, or say 40% upon drafting report, then 40% upon the final report. So there ought to be a schedule on how the auditor will be paid. There is validity period as part of validity period. What do we mean by validity period? Here, by validity period, we mean that the proposal should state the period for which the fees is valid. State the period for which your proposal and quoted fees are valid. For what period? Is it within the given period of time? What period of time within which the proposal is valid? The fees, because the fees can change due to inflation and other factors. The fees may be applied up to a certain period. It could be up to 2025 only. Beyond 2025, the rates may change. So that should also be included within this proposal. So that you don't send a proposal and give rates for 2025, which may not apply in 2026. So the auditor should clearly state that the rates that are provided are only valid up to a certain period of time. That is also very important, so that the client does not engage you in 2026 based on the 2025 rates. You understand? Yes. State the period for which your proposal and quoted fees are valid. 4, we have value for money. What do we mean by value for money? The proposal here, candidates, means should briefly reiterate the value your services will provide relative to the investment. Relative to the investment. Then, lastly, candidates, the last part of a proposal is terms and conditions. Terms and conditions. Under terms of conditions, we may have, for example, standard legal clauses. 1. Standard legal clauses. The standard legal clauses should be part of the proposal. Standard legal process. Clauses. Standard legal clauses. Standard legal clauses include here essential terms like confidentiality and data protection, like limited of liability. It may also include dispute resolution mechanisms or arbitration, and also governing laws like the laws of Kenya. Then there is also independence declaration. This is A. Then B, we have engagement letter basis, which should be part of the terms and conditions. Engagement letter basis. Engagement letter basis. The proposal should state that upon selection, the detailed terms will be formalized in a comprehensive engagement letter. Then we have appendices. Appendices. The appendices may be required by the request for proposal, and it may include resumes of key members. The proposal should have attachments or appendices like the resumes or CVs of the key team members of the audit. We might have the firm's brochure. Another thing could be the copies of relevant certifications or licenses, like the ISPAC registration. There could also be references or any forms or declarations that are specifically requested in the request for proposal. So currently, these are 10 elements of a proposal in response to a request for proposal for governance and compliance audits. We began by stating that the such proposal is a highly strategic and critical part of the engagement and appointment process of governance and compliance auditors. It's not just about answering questions from the request for proposal, but it is a tool that can be used by the auditors to express their unique value propositions and expertise in specific contexts of the client's needs. And in this lesson, we have identified 10 elements or components of such a proposal, beginning with the executive summary. There is the executive summary, which comprises of a compelling opening, value proposition, and benefits of the governance and compliance audit. Number 2 is understanding of the client's needs. Number 3, we have proposed audit scope and objectives. 4, audit methodology and approach. Audit methodology and approach has 5 elements. One is first approach. Number 2, analysis and this is standards and adherence. Number 3, risk-based. Number 4, independence and objectivity. Number 5, technology if applicable. The 5th element of a proposal is deliverables. What is expected of the auditor at the end of the audit? It could be a comprehensive audit report, management letters or letters of weaknesses, formal presentations to the board, or action plan matrix. The 6th element is team and firm qualifications. These are the qualifications of the audit team. The firm may have a dedicated engagement team. That section must also include the firm's expertise and experience, like the track record, local presence and resources, quality assurance, and thought leadership. Thought leadership includes webinars. Has the audit firm developed webinars or journals or articles and so on? That should be part of the firm's expertise and experience. 7, we have the project timeline. The proposal should have a detailed schedule and also client dependencies. Number 8 is fees and commercial terms. The proposal should have a transparent pricing indicated. Is it a fixed rate? Is the audit fees will it be fixed or will it be hourly? Is the audit be a hybrid of both? That should be clearly stated within the proposal. Then there is also payment schedule. How will the auditor be paid? We have validity period. For how long is this proposal valid? How valid? How long? For how long? Which period does the fees that is indicated in the proposal valid? For how long? Then there is also value for money. The 9th element is terms and conditions. Then lastly, we have appendices. So that's the end of our today's lesson on designing a proposal in response to request for a proposal for governance and compliance audit services. Thank you for attending the lesson. We continue to learn more in our next session. Keep tuned. Bye.